Hi everyone, I'm back again, and I've decided I'm going to talk a little more about prearrangements. I've gotten a lot of questions, a lot of great questions, on how it all actually works. So I'm going to tell you some basic guidelines of what a prearrangement actually is. So I've talked about how you set up a meeting, and usually we get all the vital information, and we make a selection of funeral services that you want, and usually include references to cash advances and all these other items that we don't control, like the cemetery, church, crematory, newspaper, stuff like that. So once you have a funeral that you want to hypothetically base everything on, that gives you a goal amount. And one thing I want you all to understand, and I am 100% speaking for Massachusetts because that's where I am licensed, but I believe every other state in the country has this basic rule. Every state does have their own prearrangement guidelines and state laws and regulations, so it's good to check those or to talk to a funeral director that understands them. So basically, I know that almost every state has adopted this, that when you prepay a funeral, you are not actually paying the funeral home. The money is based off of the plan that you're intending to fund, but it goes into a third party. It either goes into an insurance policy or a trust. With both options, there is different rates of growth. With both options, the money is protected and cannot be touched by yourself, the person that signs the contract, by the insured, by the state. It cannot be touched by the funeral home. Nobody can touch that money until the insurance company or trust receives a claim form signed by the family, a contract of actual funeral services that are held at the time of death, signed by your family, and a death certificate. So that means that when you pre-fund, the money does not go to the funeral home, which means that it is tied directly to you. So hypothetically, you win the lottery tomorrow. You buy an island in the Pacific Ocean somewhere. By all means, use a funeral home there. You are free to. Any funeral home that your family hires and signs a contract and submits a death certificate and a claim form to the company, bank, or insurance company that's holding the money will be paid the money that you have protected. Another question I've gotten is how young, like what age do you have to be? And there's really no limit. You can do this at any age. In fact, the earlier, the better. You get better rates, you get better growth, and that's how you get ahead of the prices increasing and the things that the funeral home can't control in the future. There are options where the funeral home will have options for guaranteeing and locking in their prices, but remember, the funeral home does not actually get paid. The casket that you prearranged for does not actually get purchased. The fundamentals of how this works is kind of you're anticipating what money is going to be needed when your funeral happens, and that's when the funeral home gets paid. So it puts your family in the driver's seat, it protects the money directly to you, and it also offers protection. God forbid the funeral home you prearrange with goes out of business, or there's a fire, or who knows, it gets bought by a different owner. There are regulations that cover all of that, and even more so the fact that the money isn't held by the funeral home themselves offers protection in itself. Whenever a funeral home that you prearrange with changes owners, the state licensing board for embalmers and funeral directors actually regulates that the new owner has to reach out to every single person that has a prearrangement contract with them, whether it's pre-funded, whether it's an insurance assignment of an existing policy, or even whether it's not funded. And just the contract is there, the vital information is there. So there is a very mindful and thought out protocol with prearrangements. It's very protected. And most importantly, the money that is pre-funded and put away for a funeral can also not be touched by the state. That is a very important thing because it means that the money put away for a funeral is not part of your asset category. So we have a lot of people coming to us that are either in the midst of filing their application to get long-term benefits from their state, or they might be looking at it potentially happening down the road. So they're kind of weighing out their options, seeing if ideally they can keep their loved one at home and maybe make some improvements for the home to make that more comfortable. In those cases, there are products that are a little more flexible where you don't have to pay the whole intended funeral in full. You can pay a down payment and add to it when is convenient for you, which is a perfect solution for people that are kind of in that limbo phase of having to spend down, but also not wanting to lock up and tie up money that could be used to maybe hey, put a ramp on the house or make the home more comfortable for long-term care in the home. The possibilities are endless. The important thing is to talk to your funeral director and ask any questions that you have. The other important thing is to hire a professional. 100%, I advise people to hire a professional to help them with state applications for benefits. It's a lot longer, harder, and more stressful of a process than even buying a house. So totally worth every penny that you pay for these people that are experts in this process. That's all for now, and I will be back soon.